First contact in the wreckage. Maya Chen hadn't expected to find anything valuable in the abandoned Olympus station. After 15 years floating dead in space, most salvage teams had picked it clean. But her scanner had detected an unusual energy signature, and in her line of work, unusual meant profitable. The station's massive frame loomed before her ship, the Jackdaw, its solar arrays still gleaming despite the harsh vacuum of space. This far out in the Kuiper Belt, the sun was little more than a bright star, and the station's darkened corridors relied on her suit's enhanced vision systems to navigate. Recording started. Maya announced to her ship's AI, as she secured her helmet. Boarding Olympus Station, following energy signature in Section G7. Probably just another faulty reactor core, but Specialist Chen never leaves a lead unchecked. The airlock cycled with a hiss, and Maya pushed off into the weightless environment. Her magnetic boots engaged automatically as she reached the station's deck, the soft thunk of each step echoing through her suit's audio sensors. The energy signature grew stronger as she approached G7, but something about it felt wrong. Unlike the usual radiation patterns of failing equipment, this reading pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. Maya checked her sidearm, making sure the plasma pistol was charged and ready. "That's weird," she muttered, studying her scanner. "The signature's moving." A flash of movement caught her eye, and Maya spun around, her light beam cutting through the darkness. For a split second, she glimpsed something impossible, a translucent figure that seemed to bend the light around it, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "Hello," Maya called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm not here to cause trouble, just a salvage specialist doing my job." The air shimmered, and suddenly Maya found herself face to face with a creature unlike anything humanity had encountered in their centuries of space exploration. It stood roughly her height, its body covered in what appeared to be crystalline scales that shifted colors like oil on water. Its four-fingered hands ended in delicate points, and its large almond-shaped eyes glowed with an inner light. "Please," it spoke, its voice resonating directly in Maya's mind. "Please don't alert them to my presence." Maya kept her weapon lowered but ready. "Who's them?" "The Harbingers," the creature replied, its scales darkening to a deep blue. "They destroyed my ship, killed my crew. I've been hiding here, using the station's remaining power to maintain my cloaking field." Maya's mind raced. First contact with an alien species, real, sentient alien life. And it happened here, in an abandoned station at the edge of human space. "I'm Maya Chen," she said. "Do you have a name I can pronounce?" The alien's scales rippled with patterns of light. "In your language, the closest approximation would be Echo." "Echo," Maya repeated. "Why are these Harbingers after you?" "Because I carry information that could prevent a war," Echo replied, moving closer. "My people, the Lumini, discovered something in the void between galaxies. The Harbingers will do anything to keep it secret." A distant clang echoed through the station, and Echo's form flickered. "They found me." The alien whispered in Maya's mind. "You should leave while you can." Maya Chen had built her reputation on making split-second decisions. In her line of work, hesitation meant death. She looked at Echo, then at her ship's airlock visible at the end of the corridor. "My ship's fast, and I know every hiding spot in the Kuiper Belt. Want to take your chances with a human?" Echo's scales shifted to a warm golden hue. "Why would you help me?" "Because that's what humans do," Maya replied with a grin. "We stick our noses where they don't belong and help people who need it. Besides, I've always wanted to be part of something bigger than salvage work." The station shuddered, and Maya's scanner lit up with multiple new energy signatures. "Decision time, Echo. Those readings match no human ships I've ever seen." "I accept your offer," Echo said, moving closer to Maya. "But you should know, helping me means becoming part of a conflict that spans galaxies." Maya checked her weapon's charge and gestured toward the airlock. "Wouldn't be the first time I've been in over my head. Let's move." As they made their way to the Jackdaw, Maya couldn't help but smile. She'd come looking for salvage, and instead found humanity's first alien ally. Her mother had always said Chen women had a knack for finding trouble. Now Maya was about to prove just how much trouble one human could cause for the mysterious harbingers. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of an adventure that would change the fate of two species forever. Jackdaw, Maya called out as they reached the airlock. Prep for emergency departure and calculate the fastest route to the Cirrus outpost. We're about to have company, and I don't think they're interested in a friendly chat. The ship's AI responded immediately, engines humming to life. As Maya helped Echo aboard, she caught her first glimpse of their pursuers. Massive ships of impossible geometries, their hulls seeming to fold in on themselves in ways that hurt her eyes to look at. "Hold on," Maya warned as they strapped in. "Human ships aren't known for smooth rides, but we make up for it in speed and maneuverability." The Harbinger vessels opened fire just as the Jackdaw broke away from the station. Maya's hands flew across the controls, the ship responding to her commands like an extension of her body. They dove through debris fields and executed maneuvers that would have torn apart a larger vessel. "Your species relies on such primitive technology," Echo observed, watching Maya pilot with fascination. "Yet you compensate with remarkable adaptability." Maya grinned as she threaded the needle between two asteroids, causing one of their pursuers to pull back. "That's humanity in a nutshell. We make do with what we have, and we're too stubborn to know when we're outmatched." As they raced toward the relative safety of the Cirrus outpost, Maya knew she just volunteered for something far more dangerous than salvage work. But looking at Echo, whose crystalline scales now shimmered with patterns of trust and hope, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. The universe had just gotten a lot bigger, and Maya Chen was ready to show it exactly what humanity could do. Trust among the stars. The Cirrus outpost wasn't much to look at. A collection of interconnected habitats and docking tubes carved into the dwarf planet's rocky surface. But to Maya Chen, it represented safety, or at least as much safety as they could hope for, with reality-bending alien ships on their tail. Jackdaw requesting emergency docking. Maya transmitted as they approached. "Priority clearance. We've got company coming, and trust me, you don't want them getting close to the station." Echo sat silently in the co-pilot's seat, their crystalline scales now a deep purple that Maya was beginning to associate with anxiety. The alien's presence had already triggered every sensor on the Jackdaw's systems, and Maya knew the outpost's more sophisticated scanning equipment would do the same. "Clearance granted," came the reply. "But Chen, you've got some explaining to do." "Story of my life," Maya muttered, guiding the Jackdaw into the docking tube. As soon as they were secure, she turned to Echo. "Okay, two options. We can try to explain what you are to the station authorities, or we can do this the slightly less legal way. Your call." Echo's scales rippled with bands of silver. Contemplation, Maya had learned. "The fewer who know of my existence, the safer everyone will be. The Harbingers have ways of extracting information from minds." "Less legal way it is." Maya grinned, reaching under her console to pull out a small device. "Good thing I keep a signal scrambler handy. It won't fool them for long, but it should buy us enough time to get supplies and information." The next hour was a careful dance of timing and misdirection. Maya used her salvage specialist credentials to requisition supplies, while Echo remained cloaked, their natural abilities enhanced by the scrambler's interference. They made their way through the station's less monitored corridors, gathering what they needed. "There's something I don't understand," Maya said as they loaded supplies into the Jackdaw's cargo hold. "What exactly did your people find out there in the void? What could be so important that these Harbingers would destroy an entire ship to keep it secret?" Echo's form shimmed, their scales taking on a deep, midnight blue pattern Maya hadn't seen before. "We discovered that the void isn't empty. There are structures out there. Ancient technologies that suggest the universe isn't what we thought it was. The Harbingers aren't just trying to keep a secret, they're trying to maintain control of something that could change everything." And let me guess, Maya said, securing the last crate. Humanity isn't supposed to know about any of this. Your species wasn't supposed to survive this long, Echo replied. The Harbingers have been subtly influencing civilizations for millions of years, guiding their development, ensuring they remain manageable. But humans, you evolved differently. You adapted in ways they couldn't predict. Maya was about to respond when the station's alarms began blaring. Through the docking tube's viewport, she saw them. 3 Harbinger ships, their impossible geometries distorting the space around them. Time to go, Maya said, rushing to the cockpit. Jackdaw, emergency protocols. Divert all power to engines and shields. Wait, Echo called out, their mental voice urgent. The information I carry, it's not just data. It's coordinates. There's a facility hidden in the Oort cloud. If we can reach it, we might find weapons capable of fighting the Harbingers. Maya's hands flew across the controls, preparing for undocking. The Oort cloud. That's practically interstellar space. The Jackdaw's good, but she's not built for that kind of journey. Then we'll need help, Echo said, their scales brightening with purpose. There's a human colony on Europa. They've been experimenting with advanced propulsion systems that might be compatible with Lumini technology. The station shuddered as the Harbinger ships opened fire, their weapons unlike anything humanity had encountered. Maya watched in horror as portions of the station's hull seemed to age centuries in seconds, metal crumbling to dust. Europa it is, she decided, punching in the coordinates. But we'll need to be clever about this. Those ships are faster in open space. We need somewhere to hide. Echo's scales pulsed with a pattern Maya recognized as excitement. The asteroid belt. The mineral content will interfere with their sensors, and your experience as a salvage specialist makes you more adept at navigation through such hazards. Maya smiled as she fired up the engines. Now you're thinking like a human. Jackdaw, plot a course through the densest part of the belt. Let's show our friends what happens when they chase a salvage rat through her natural habitat. As they broke away from Ceres, Maya felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. The fate of multiple species might rest on their success, but right now she was in her element. Let the Harbingers come with their reality-bending ships and ancient technologies. They were about to learn why humanity had survived against all their predictions. How did your people first realize what the Harbingers were doing? Maya asked as they weaved through the first wave of asteroids. Echo's response came with a ripple of dark humor through their scales. We started asking questions we weren't supposed to ask. Much like humans do. Perhaps that's why I trust you. Your species understands the importance of defying expectations. The Harbinger ships followed them into the asteroid belt, their weapons turning space rocks into clouds of ancient dust. But Maya had spent years memorizing this dance of gravity and debris. Every move she made was calculated, using the asteroids for cover while letting momentum and orbital mechanics do the work. Your ship's hull integrity is at risk, Echo warned as a near miss caused the Jackdaw to shudder. She's tougher than she looks, Maya replied, executing a slingshot maneuver around a larger asteroid, like her captain. Besides, we just need to hold together until we reach Jupiter space. Then we'll see what your Lumini tech can do with human ingenuity. As they raced through the asteroid field, Maya couldn't help but feel that this was what humanity had been preparing for all along. Every challenge overcome, every hostile environment conquered. It had all led to this moment, where one human's skill and determination might help save not just Earth, but countless civilizations across the galaxy. The Harbingers would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their weapons, but in their relentless drive to push boundaries and help others do the same. And Maya Chen was ready to prove it, one impossible escape at a time. The hidden truth. Jupiter's massive form dominated the view through the Jackdaw's viewport, its swirling storms a backdrop to the ice-covered moon they were approaching. Europa's surface gleamed like polished marble, crossed by deep red scratches. the famous chaos terrain that hinted at the liquid ocean beneath. I'm picking up unusual readings from the surface, Echo said, their crystalline scales shifting through shades of green as they interfaced with the ship's sensors. The human colony has achieved more than they've shared with the rest of your species. Maya checked their approach vector again, conscious of the radiation belts they'd have to navigate. Europa colony's always been secretive. Hard to get funding for theoretical physics these days, unless you're promising military applications. The Jackdaw's comm system crackled to life. Unidentified vessel, you are entering restricted space. Transmit clearance codes or alter course immediately. Maya took a deep breath. This is the part where we find out if your information is as valuable as we hope. Broadcasting now. She transmitted the codes Echo had provided. Ancient sequences supposedly embedded in human technology by the Lumini centuries ago. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, confirmed. Follow guidance beacon to Dock 7. Welcome to Europa Station. Lumini envoy. Maya shot a surprised look at Echo. You want to explain how they knew what you are? Echo's scales rippled with patterns of silver and gold. There are humans here who have known of our existence for generations. We've been guiding certain developments. The Harbingers aren't the only ones who can influence species. The docking procedure was automated, guiding them into a massive hangar carved into Europa's ice. As the airlock cycled, Maya noticed something odd about the other ships docked nearby. Their designs incorporated elements she'd never seen before, smooth curves and material patterns that seemed to defy conventional engineering. Those are hybrid vessels, Echo explained, noticing her interest. Human engineering enhanced by principles we provided. But they've taken our ideas in directions we never considered. Your species has a remarkable talent for innovation. A delegation was waiting for them as they disembarked. 3 humans in sophisticated environmental suits, led by a tall woman with silver hair and calculating eyes. I'm Director Sarah Hammond, she announced, studying Echo with unconcealed fascination. When we received the ancient codes, we thought, well, it's been a long time since we had direct contact with the Lumini. The situation has become critical, Echo replied, their mental voice reaching all present. The Harbingers have discovered our involvement with humanity's development. They're taking direct action now. Hammond's expression hardened. Follow me. There's something you need to see. They were led through a series of security checkpoints, descending deeper into the moon's ice shell. Maya noticed the architecture becoming increasingly strange. Geometric patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles, surfaces that hummed with barely perceptible energy. Welcome to Project Prometheus, Hammond said as they entered a vast circular chamber. Humanity's answer to the question we weren't supposed to ask. The chamber's center was dominated by what appeared to be a tear in space itself, a vertical rift through which Maya could see something. Shapes and colors that her mind struggled to process, mathematical concepts given physical form. You've created a window into space, Echo said, their scales pulsing with intense blue light. How? This shouldn't be possible with your current level of technology. Hammond smiled. You gave us the foundation, but we took it further. Humans have a unique ability to see patterns, to make intuitive leaps that bypass conventional logic. We've been studying the Harbinger's technology, reverse engineering what we could. And we found something they never expected us to discover. She gestured to a series of displays surrounding the rift. Reality isn't fixed. The Harbingers don't bend space. They rewrite local physics, but they do it inefficiently, brute forcing their way through dimensional barriers. We found a better way. Maya stared at the rift, her salvage specialist's instincts picking up details others might miss. Those patterns, they're similar to what I see on their ships, but simpler, more elegant. Exactly, Hammond confirmed. The Harbingers think technology has to be complex to be powerful. Humanity looked at the same principles and asked, how can we do this better? Echo moved closer to the rift, their scales shifting through colors Maya had never seen before. This is why they fear humanity. You don't just use technology. You improve it, evolve it. The coordinates I carry, they're not just for weapons. They're for something far more significant. A nexus, Hammond finished. A central point where all realities intersect. The Harbingers have been guarding it for millions of years, using it to maintain their control over space-time itself. But they never imagined a species would develop the ability to access it differently. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. So what's the plan? We can't exactly fight our way past the Harbingers with experimental technology. No, Echo agreed, turning to face them. But we can beat them at their own game. The Harbingers rely on complexity and overwhelming force. They've never faced an enemy that could outthink them. Hammond nodded. We've been preparing for this moment. The Jackdaw's engine system is compatible with our hybrid technology. With Echo's coordinates and our improvements to the base Lumini designs, we might have a chance to reach the Nexus before they realize what we're planning. And then, Maya asked, though she had a feeling she knew the answer. Then, Echo said, their scales blazing with determination, we show them why trying to control humanity's development was their greatest mistake. As Maya looked around the chamber, at the impossible rift and the humans who had created it, she understood something fundamental about her species. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their defiance. It was their ability to take the impossible and make it not just possible, but better than anyone had imagined. The Harbingers had spent millions of years trying to prevent this moment. They were about to learn that some things simply couldn't be controlled, turning the tide. The Jackdaw barely resembled its former self after the Europa engineers finished their modifications. Its hull now rippled with the same geometric patterns Maya had seen in the research facility, and the engine core pulsed with a soft light that seemed to come from somewhere beyond normal space. The hybrid drive is fully integrated, Hammond said, reviewing the final diagnostics. You'll be able to match the Harbinger's reality manipulation capabilities, but with greater efficiency. Just remember, the human mind isn't designed to process in space travel. The autopilot will handle the complex calculations. Maya ran her hands over the new controls, feeling the subtle vibrations of power beneath her fingers. What happens if the autopilot fails? Then you'll have to navigate by instinct, Echo replied, their scales showing patterns of concern. Few species can survive direct exposure to in-space mathematics. The Harbingers use massive computational arrays. The Lumini rely on our crystalline neural networks. But humans, your minds are uniquely adaptable. Lucky us, Maya muttered, though she couldn't help but feel a spark of pride. They were about to attempt something unprecedented. A human ship, enhanced by Lumini technology, making a run for the most heavily guarded location in the galaxy. The mission plan was audacious in its simplicity. The coordinates Echo carried would let them plot a course directly to the Nexus, bypassing the Harbinger's conventional defense networks. The hard part would be surviving what they found when they arrived. Final preparations complete, Hammond announced. You have a 12-hour window before the Harbingers detect the power signature from our facility. Make it count. As they prepared for launch, Maya noticed Echo's scales shifting through rapid color changes. Having second thoughts. Processing possibilities, Echo replied. The Harbingers have controlled galactic development for millions of years. They've eliminated countless species that threaten their dominion. Yet they never managed to fully suppress humanity. I'm wondering what they'll do when they realize their greatest fear is coming true. The launch sequence initiated, and Maya felt the new engines come to life. The sensation was unlike anything she'd experienced, as if the ship was simultaneously in multiple places, testing reality before choosing where to exist. Approaching the space transition point, the Jackdaw's AI announced, "Brace for dimensional shift." Maya had expected the transition to be violent, but instead, it felt like the universe simply stepped sideways. The stars outside stretched and twisted, forming patterns that her mind translated into navigable pathways. "This is incredible," she breathed, watching reality reshape itself around them. The Harbinger ships always seem to fight against space itself. This feels natural. Echo's scales pulsed with approval. That's the difference. They impose their will on reality. Humans adapt to it, work with it. Even now, your mind is creating frameworks to understand concepts that should be impossible for your species to grasp. They were making good progress when the first alarm sounded. 3 Harbinger vessels had appeared ahead, their massive forms distorting space in their characteristic way. "They're trying to force us back into normal space," Echo warned. The dimensional stress could tear the ship apart. Maya's hands tightened on the controls. "Jackdaw, disengage autopilot." "Warning," the AI responded. "Manual navigation in space may cause severe psychological trauma." "Better than being atomized," Maya replied, taking control. The moment she did, the full complexity of in space hit her consciousness. It was like trying to solve an infinite number of equations simultaneously while juggling supernova. But there was a pattern to it. The same way she could instinctively calculate trajectories through an asteroid field, she began to sense the flows and eddies of higher dimensions. The Harbinger ships were creating distortions, but they were predictable. Too rigid, too mathematically perfect. "They don't understand," Maya said through gritted teeth as she guided the Jackdaw through impossible angles. "Space isn't just equations. It's alive. It moves, it flows, it dances." Echo's mental voice held a note of awe. "You're seeing it as it truly is. No species has ever. Maya, your nose is bleeding." She could feel the pressure building in her head, but she didn't dare let go of the controls. The Harbinger ships were falling behind, their attacks becoming increasingly desperate as the Jackdaw moved in ways their tactical computers couldn't predict. "The Nexus coordinates," Maya managed to say. "Input them now. I can't hold this much longer." Echo interfaced with the ship's systems, their crystalline form resonating with the engine core. The coordinates weren't just numbers. They were a key, a specific sequence of dimensional frequencies that would lead them directly to the heart of the Harbinger's power. Reality shuddered around them as they made the final approach. Through the view screen, Maya caught glimpses of something vast and geometric, like a cathedral built from mathematics itself. The Nexus. "Multiple Harbinger signatures detected," the AI warned. "They're converging on our position." Maya felt blood trickling from her ears now, but she could also sense something else. A flaw in the Harbinger's defenses. They were so focused on maintaining perfect control that they'd created a predictable pattern. And patterns could be broken. "Echo," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Remember how you said humans take technology and make it better? Watch this." With the last of her strength, Maya executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. She turned the Jackdaw's hybrid drive against itself, creating a cascade of dimensional reflections. To the Harbinger sensors, it would appear as if hundreds of ships were approaching from every conceivable angle. The massive defense grid protecting the Nexus faltered, its perfect mathematical harmony disrupted by the chaos of human intuition combined with Lumini technology. As Maya finally lost consciousness, her last thought was that humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology or their defiance. It was their ability to see the beauty in chaos, to dance with the impossible until it became possible. The Harbingers had spent millions of years trying to impose order on the universe. They were about to learn that sometimes the only way forward was to embrace the dance. A new beginning. Maya awoke to the sensation of cool energy flowing through her body, gradually washing away the pain that had threatened to tear her mind apart. Echo stood over her, their crystalline form channeling healing frequencies directly into her neural pathways. "Welcome back," Echo said, their scales showing patterns of relief. "You've been unconscious for 17 minutes. In that time, you've managed to accomplish what no species has done in millions of years. You breached the Harbinger's perfect defense." Maya sat up slowly, taking in their surroundings. They were inside the Nexus, and it defied everything she thought she knew about reality. The space around them seemed to fold in on itself infinitely, creating structures that existed in more dimensions than her mind could process. Yet somehow, she could still understand it, like reading a language she hadn't known she spoke. "They're coming," she said, somehow sensing the Harbinger's approach through the geometric patterns of the Nexus itself. "But something's different. They're afraid." "As they should be," came a new voice, and Maya turned to see what could only be a Harbinger. Its form was constantly shifting, like smoke given mathematical precision, but she could sense the intelligence behind its fluid geometry. "You have done the impossible. You have corrupted perfection with chaos." Echo moved protectively closer to Maya. "You never understood. The universe isn't meant to be perfect. Evolution requires variation, requires chaos to create new possibilities. We brought order," the Harbinger stated. "We guided species along proper paths of development. Until humanity. You were the flaw in our equations, the variable that could not be controlled." Maya stood, her legs shaky but growing stronger. "Because you don't understand us. Humans don't want to be controlled. We want to explore, to discover, to create. Yes, sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes our chaos leads to destruction. But it also leads to beauty you couldn't imagine." More Harbingers were appearing now, their forms rippling with what Maya recognized as agitation. The Nexus hummed with power around them, and she could feel it responding to her presence, to her understanding of its true nature. The Nexus isn't a control point, she realized aloud. It's a connection point. It's meant to bring realities together, to allow them to interact and grow. "You've been using it wrong all this time." The first Harbinger's form flickered. "The multiverse requires order, structure. Without our guidance, chaos will consume all." "No," Echo interjected, their scales blazing with newfound comprehension. "The multiverse requires balance. The Lumini understood this once, before we let ourselves be guided by your fear of disorder. We forgot that true harmony comes from the dance between order and chaos." Maya reached out, letting her fingers brush against the Nexus's geometric patterns. The same intuition that had let her navigate in space was telling her something vital. "This is why humanity survived your influence. We're not just chaos, and we're not just order. We're the bridge between them. We take the impossible and make it work, not by forcing it to be perfect, but by accepting its imperfections and finding beauty in them." The Nexus responded to her touch, its patterns shifting, becoming more organic while retaining their mathematical precision. The Harbingers moved to stop her, but they hesitated, their perfect calculations disrupted by the unprecedented situation. "The age of control is over," Echo declared, interfacing with the Nexus alongside Maya. "It's time for something new. A true collaboration between all species, each contributing their unique perspectives to the grand dance of reality." Maya felt the Nexus power flowing through her, and she understood what needed to be done. Not with equations or perfect logic, but with the peculiarly human ability to embrace paradox, to find patterns in chaos and freedom in structure. "You can join us," she offered to the Harbingers. "Help us build something greater than perfect order or perfect chaos. Help us create real harmony." The Nexus pulsed, and Maya saw the truth of what humanity had been preparing for all along. They weren't meant to defeat the Harbingers. They were meant to show them a better way. One by one, the Harbingers' forms began to shift, their rigid geometries becoming more fluid, more alive. The first one approached Maya, its form settling into something that bridged the gap between mathematical precision and organic flow. "Perhaps," it said, "there is wisdom in imperfection." The Nexus flared with brilliant light, and Maya felt realities shifting around them. Not being forced into order, but finding their own paths to harmony. Echo's scales rippled with joy as they witnessed the change spreading across dimensions. "What happens now?" Maya asked, watching as the Nexus power transformed the very fabric of space-time. "Now," Echo replied, their scales showing patterns of infinite possibility. We explore together. Humans, Lumini, and yes, even the Harbingers, each bringing our own gifts to the great dance of creation. Maya smiled, feeling the universe unfold around them in ways both chaotic and ordered, both impossible and inevitable. Humanity had done what it did best. They'd taken an impossible situation and transformed it into something new, something that no one had imagined possible. The salvage specialist who had once searched abandoned stations for spare parts now stood at the dawn of a new age. An age where the boundaries between order and chaos, between species and realities, would blur and transform into something greater than the sum of its parts. As the light of transformation spread across the cosmos, Maya Chen realized that every step of her journey, every split-second decision, every impossible maneuver, every moment of human intuition, had led to this moment. Not to an ending, but to a beginning. The real adventure was just starting.